Everybody, welcome along to the second part of our autumn wreath tutorial. I don't know whether you joined me last time. Last time we created felt leaves, and I just want to show you something quickly before I start. I don't know if you've been with my broadcast with VBH. My first one was an Easter tree, and I made an Easter tree and decorated it, and I've kept it going all through the summer. Put flowers on it in the summer, and just this weekend, actually, this way it'd be better. I've put some of the felt leaves I made onto the tree to make an autumn tree. So I just thought I'd show you that to start with as another idea of what you can do with the felt leaves we made last time. Right, so back to our autumn wreath. If you didn't see me last time, I'll just give you a quick look at what we're aiming for. I did not get it in front of my face. This is my autumn wreath that is going to go out in my front door sometime soon. I always get confused with this camera if you to go the other way. So last time I was on, we made felt leaves. I'll bring it a bit closer so you can see. We made plain leaves, we made embroidered leaves, we made leaves with cutouts. And that's what we did last time. So that forms the basis of the decoration for your wreath. What we're going to do today is do some needle felting, and we're going to create Blackberry. You can see it there. And I think it's at the other side. There we go. An acorn. These are the simplest things. Round balls are the simplest things to make with needle felting. There also are some other bits of needle felting on here that are a bit more advanced. I've got a little toadstool, which I might show you if I've got time this morning, or at least I'll show you roughly how it's done. I'm also going to put some videos for these other elements on my own page. So if you search on Facebook for what Kate made, or Kate's Design and Craft, you'll see my page, and there's lots of little tutorials on there. The last one, which I love, is this little squirrel. He's gorgeous. But again, that's quite advanced needle felting. So if you've done it before and done animal shapes, you could have a go at that. But we're going to concentrate today on the simplest things, which is the berries. Now, equipment for needle felting is very, very simple. You need wool. This is wool roving. It's been combed and dyed. This is merino, which is very, very fine wool. And you buy it in hanks like this. You can get it in bigger hanks as well, in a million different colours. It's really nice. Merino is very fine wool. If anybody's a knitter, they'll know that merino wool is lovely to knit with. It feels beautiful. It's easy to split bits off. You just tear it off like that. The other thing you need when you're needle felting is a needle, and that's your your needle felting needle. You can't see it very well there, but it's very, very slim needle, very pointed, and it has little barbs up this bit, this very narrow bit, which catch the wool. The reason wool felts is because of its structure. When you pull it, if you pull it, the fibres, different breeds of sheep have different length fibres. The fibres in merino are quite long. If you pull it, try and pull it apart close together, the length of the fibres, you're holding the whole fibre there, so it will not come apart. If you just lengthen it, and the fibres in this are probably about that long, it will pull apart. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to do that with this. And also, each individual fibre has lots of little tiny microscopic barbs on it. And as you push your barbed hook through it, it causes these to stick together. So you felt. And that's how it works. That's the technical bit. There is other equipment. Oh, the other thing you need is a pad of some sort, foam pad. These are just foam pads from supermarket, one of those value brand supermarkets. Other supermarkets are available. That just prevents you breaking your needle. It gives you something to stab against. It's very therapeutic craft. If you've got issues to work out, you can stab, and it's very. I find it very calming. Now, there are a few other tools. Oh, the other essential tool I found is thimbles. You will stab yourself with the needle. Everybody does, even experts. But something to protect the ends of your fingers does help, and I just chose thimbles. There's various things you can find, but I think something that the needle can't actually go through is better. Now, one other sort of non-essential but quite helpful pieces of equipment. I'm using a foam pad today, but you can get these brushes. They're quite good because if you're doing like a big piece to felt, it's you felt both sides because as you stab from the top, the brush is stabbed from underneath, if you like. And the other thing is a multi-needle tool like this. That just helps again if you want to quickly felt something together without any sort of like particular shape or definition. That's quite good. So those are your basic tools. Aside from for needle felting, for what we're going to do today, you will also need florist wire. This is the very fine one. You'll need that to form your stems, and florist stem wrap, which we used last time for our leaves. The florist wire I've got here is thinner than the one we used last time, which was quite a stiff one because we wanted stiff stems. Right, enough talking. Let's get started. So I'm just going to point the camera down as usual. Just bear with me a second. I can't see your comments today because I haven't been able to bring this up live. So you'll just have to, I will look at everybody's comments later. So I'd really appreciate any comments you can make. So starting with my foam pad, we're going to start with the acorn. So this is my acorn. You can see it's got, it's a ball of, it's like a creamy colour, and I've added the cup round it and then the stem on the end. So what you start with is a piece of your merino top. I'm just going to take this bit off that I've already started to pull apart. So you just pull a piece off, and the easiest way to form a circle shape is to tie a knot in it to start with. You've got a long hank and you just tie a little knot in it. That just gives you a bit of a ball shape to start with, and then you simply stab it with the needle. So I'm just going to put on my protection, and I'm going to start with my multi-tool just because it gives me a bit of a head start. And you just stab, and as you're stabbing you can see it changing. You can see it becoming, well, it's flattening out for the start, so what we'll do is keep turning it because we don't want it flat. You can see the texture of the wool changing as it becomes more matted. Now this tutorial will involve a lot of, like, here's one I did earlier, just because of the time it takes. You don't want to be sitting there watching me just stabbing all the time. So I'm going to give you the instructions, and then I'm going to show you what it will look like when it's finished. So you keep doing this, you work round your ball, turning it every which way, minding your fingers, tucking in any stray bit, and you just keep going until you've got your ball shape. And you can see it's very quickly forming into a ball. It's quite squishy now. Where are we? It's not as loose as it was before. When you're ready to put a bit more definition onto it, change to your single needle and just keep doing the same thing. And what you're aiming for is a nice smooth surface. It does take a little while, probably take about 10 minutes to needle felt a ball. When we're doing this sort of needle felting as well, it doesn't have to be. If you're doing complicated sculptures like animals or people, they need to be a bit very stiff. They need to be felted very hard. But for this kind of thing, you don't actually need to have it too solid. As long as you've got the shape you want. And particularly with the Blackberry, which I'll show you later, it wants to be a little bit, it doesn't want to be smooth because the Blackberries aren't. So as you can see, the ball's coming together. And I would just keep doing this until I got a fairly smooth surface. You want it reasonably smooth for the acorn. You want the sort of shape of your knot to disappear. And it is a slightly long, sort of oval shaped, rather than an actual ball. So we're trying to keep that shape in it. So just keep going round. Just do a little bit more. Right, so you can see it's starting to form into the acorn shape. So this is where I'm switching to here's one I made earlier. So in the end, this is what you're going to have. You're going to have a bauble. You will probably have a bit of a tail at the bottom. And that's handy to keep on, although we might want to trim some of it off. Right, so what you do next when you've got your ball is put the wire in. I would put the wire in next because then you can felt around the wire and make it secure. So I'm taking my wire. I'll just take those off my fingers then. They're a bit clumsy. Taking my wire and the bottom of the acorn and I'm going to feed it through the felted bit. It is looser felt in there, and you do have to kind of jiggle to make sure it goes all the way through, because the wire is quite thin and the felt is quite thick at this point. It's not going to go through because it must be a thick bit at the other side. Oh, there we go. It's coming through now, I think. You can feel it with your finger. There it is. And maybe give it a bit of a, that's it, through. So you can see that that is through the bottom of the felted bit. So push it right through till it's about halfway, and then bend it down like that. Then what I would do is take one leg of your wire, and just wind it round the bottom there. It just makes it more secure. So just a couple of winds, and then twist those together. And then you just want to work this slightly so that your wire is firmly embedded. So we will just go around a little bit and firmly embed the wire. So that's the start of your acorn. That is the inside bit of the acorn. Now if we go back to mine that I made earlier, showed you earlier, it's got this brown cup. So an acorn has like a cup around it, and then that goes down into the stem. So to do that, you can just add colour on top. So any needle felting you do, if you're doing a large thing, quite often what people felters will do is use a plain top. So just it's unbleached top, and form a skeleton and then add the colour on top. It's just because the coloured fleece is slightly more expensive. So to create our cup, what we're going to do is we want a piece of, this is like a browny colour, woody colour. We want to pull a length off, and then we're going to wrap it around the cup, around the acorn where we want it to be felted. So I'm wrapping that round there. It's a bit longer than the acorn, but I don't know whether you can see that properly. But the way you want to add a piece, you start by defining the edge. So take your single needle and go right along the edge of that piece, and it will bed it into the fleece underneath. And just keep turning and stabbing. Just be careful of your fingers. In fact, I'm going to put my thimbles back on, and just be careful of the wire inside. These felting needles break very, very easily because they're quite fine. So you just have to be careful. You might find it easier to stand this on its end while you do this. You don't want to be stabbing them against a hard surface because they'll break. They are fairly reasonable to buy, so you don't have to worry about breaking them. And they do get blunt. I mean, it's like a sewing machine needle, I suppose. One needle will probably do you a couple of sessions, but no more than that before they get a bit blunt. So you just keep adding all the way around the brown until you're satisfied that it's securely on and that you have the effect that you want. So I'm just going to keep going around. You can just like keep going around the edge. It's important to secure it to the other felt, which is another reason why we don't felt it too tightly, because if you felt it too tightly, so it's a solid lump, you can't add any other colour to it, because you simply can't get it through into the wool underneath, the new wool into the wool underneath. And you can see it doesn't take a lot of the coloured felt, the coloured yarn, to add colour to the underneath. So I've actually pushed my ball a little bit out of shape there. And you see how the colour's adding underneath. I'm just going to add a bit more to that to show you. So I'm going to pull another hang, a bit thicker this time, because the cup of the acorn sits slightly proud of the ball bit. So you need to have it quite thick round the top edge so that it, sorry, I've got my fingers in the way there, you can't see what I'm doing. You want it sort of thick around the top edge. You can mould the shapes quite easily once you've formed your basic pad of felt. You can mould mould it. So if you were doing, say, an animal with a face and you wanted to put eye sockets in, by continually stabbing in one place, you will create a dimple that will look like an eye socket. So I'm going to keep going with this a little bit longer because I want to show you how to add your stem. Any bits that are excess, you can tuck underneath and hide. So I'm going to keep going with this. Don't know what the weather's like with you today, wherever you are, but it's pretty miserable here. It's very wet and it's quite cold. We're definitely getting into autumn now. So I'm going to actually get my wreath hung out on the door today. The next session, I think, is in a week. And in that session, we'll be putting all the elements together and I'll show you how to form your wreath. I have been experimenting with wreath because I use a polystyrene base on mine, and I'm not happy with using polystyrene because of the plastic content in it. So I'm trying to figure out a way to make a wreath base that is a bit more eco-friendly. And what I've come up with, and we've practiced in my craft group that I go to, is one made of toilet rolls and papier-mâché. And it works really, really well. And the nice thing about it is you are using rubbish to make something. So what would normally go in the bin, or the recycling anyway, if you recycle, is actually being reused, and it will make something beautiful, which is great. But I'll explain about that next time when we do the... So you can see I'm forming the cup now. As I'm stabbing round and round and round and turning as I go. And so now I'm going in from the top a bit because I want to get this cup to be part of the shape of the acorn, because it needs to come narrow where the stem is. So that's what I'm concentrating on, stabbing all in that area around the wire now to form the stem. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some stem wrap around it to just finish it off. I'm going to try a bit from above because that will form the base of it better. Sometimes you can come in at a right angle when you're doing your needling bit, and that can change the way the direction of your stabbing can change, make it felt a little bit better and change the shape. So I'm reasonably happy with that one. It could do with a bit more tidying up and a bit more smoothing, but you can see that it does look very like an acorn so far. So to do the stem, we're going to use that stem wrap that I explained before. It doesn't stick very well to the fleece, so this is when I might trim off some of these ends. If you're going to cut it, the best way to cut it is cut it at an angle. Don't cut it off bluntly, because it won't. If you've got a blunt end, it just makes it a knob. It won't narrow like that. So then you can twist it so it narrows. So you can see like that. So the stem wrap, I used this last week. This one's brown. I think I used green last week. It is a paper wrap with sort of sticky, waxy glue added to it. This one's brown, but you can get it in green and white and all sorts of other colours. You just tear off a bit and it just snaps like that. It's very fine. And that stretching makes it stickier, which is what you want, because you want it to stick on itself. I'm just going to twiddle that camera a bit because it just seems to be far away from my hand. So from what you want to do is cover all of this cream bit. So you hold it with one finger and stretch it and wrap it round. And the more you stretch it, the stickier it gets. So it will then stick to itself. So you wrap it over, so it's overlapping until you reach the end of your fleecy bit. Then you can do this twiddly thing where you just turn that and it just twiddles around the wire. And then that will also seal it to a point, and then you can cut it. Just for safety's sake, or to make it doubly secure, I would maybe wrap it again, just because it doesn't stick awfully well to the fleece, this. So you need to have it nice and secure. So then I'm going to wrap it again. And that will just come to the end. And with the heat of your fingers, makes it more sticky. So there you go. That's your acorn. How easy was that? And quite therapeutic, as I say, all the stabbing. So that's your first piece made. And I like it. Now, the second thing we're going to make is the blackberry. Now, as you can see, the blackberry is very, very similar. All it is just different colours and a few slightly different techniques. So what I've used for my blackberry base is something that I bought. I always say there's no mistakes in crafting, only happy accidents. And I bought this thinking it was the same as the combed roving, but it isn't. It's not. Can you see? It's not in a long. It's more of just a ball of it. And I thought it was black, but it's actually midnight blue. Now it isn't very good for some felting, but for making these acorns, these blackberries, it's brilliant because it's got that midnight blue colour. That's not quite black, and it forms balls quite easily because it's not in a straight line with all the fibres going the same way. So, as we are short of time, you've seen me already felt a ball, so I'm not going to show you that again. I've got one that I made earlier. That's at the stage where, it's ready to have the wire added. I'm trying to bring this closer to you because I don't know whether you can see it on there, but the texture of that fleece is kind of rough and bumpy. I haven't smoothed it as much as I would with the as I did with the acorn because I want to get that sort of bumpiness that a berry has. So again, I'm going to put the wire on. I've quite actually enjoyed making my autumn wreath for one reason, that I've observed nature much more this autumn. I've looked at leaves and I've looked at berries, and rather than just seeing them, I've looked at the structure and how they're formed, because I wanted to, I mean, it's not 100% authentic, but I wanted it to look quite close to the reality. Right, so that's this is actually probably going to work out quite a bit bigger than the acorn, so that's what I mean when it's not that real. That's my stem added. Now, with the blackberry, similar as we did the cup, the blackberries have the remains of the, I think it's called the calyx of the flower. So they have like a little cup of green leaves around the base. So to add those, you need to individually felt some pieces. But before we do that, we're going to add a bit of colour variation to our blackberry, because they're not just black, they've got purple, they've got little bits of green. So the colours I've got here to add to the berry itself, to try and give it a bit more definition, is I have two colours of purple. I've got a dark one and a sort of lighter one. And I've also got a very, very dark mossy green. And what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to start with the purple. You just pull off a very fine piece of your colour. So when I say very fine, I mean like that. So, and then just lay it over your berry, because all we want to do is add a suggestion of purple and then just start stabbing it in. I want to bring it a little bit closer, otherwise it'll just disappear. But what I want to add is a suggestion of purple. So I keep stabbing and stabbing. You might even bring in your multi-tool at this point, because it's got individual needles. It spreads it out a bit more. And again, we're just trying to fix. Oh, that's, yeah, I keep forgetting to put my, yeah. The other essential equipment you need when you're needle felting is a pack of plasters, sticking plasters, because you will stab yourself. So, can you see that? It is starting to have a suggestion of sort of purple veins. And you keep working it. You don't have to be quite so precise, because you want to have that sort of bumpy texture. So that's a little bit of that darker purple added, and we're also going to add a little bit of the lighter purple. So I'm just going to do the same. I'm going to pull a little bit off. And I'm going to turn my berry so it's not at the same side as the darker purple. And then I'm going to spread it on, stab it in. You will need to work this sort of fluffiness away. You don't want it ultra smooth, but you don't want bits of hair standing up from it either. So as you can see, already it's changed the look of the berry. It's made it a lot more textured looking, which is what we wanted, because we didn't need that with the acorn, because the acorns are very smooth. You might want to add it to the cup, a bit of colour, because that isn't as smooth as the actual nut itself. But with the berry, we want it to be textured. We want it to have a suggestion of another colour. And it's starting to come together quite nicely now. So you can see the two colours are blended. It's a little bit thick there, but that's fine, because that will add, again, another dimension to it. So as you can see, I have got a suggestion of purple there and there. And now I'm going to put this bit that hasn't got anything on. I'm going to put a suggestion of the mossy green, as if it's only half ripe. I'm trying to think of what it looks like when you actually look at the berry. I mean, we all think, oh, blackberries are black, but they aren't actually black. They're very dark, very, very dark red, really. So you can see the green being added. Again, I'm just doing this as quickly. I would spend a little bit more time on it if I wasn't demonstrating, because you would have the time, but you don't just want to see me. So that will give you the impression. So you can see how different is that to the original ball of blue that I had. Got a suggestion of veins of different colour. So that's, oops, I keep going the wrong way with the camera. There. So I'm going to show you now how I made, if you can see up back to this one, how I made these sort of suggestions of leaves up the side. So I had a lighter green, more of a sort of forest green, this colour. And these are my little individual leaves I've made. You need 4. I've made 3 already, and then we're going to add them. So I'm going to show you how I made them. You need a piece about that size of your, and this is different. We're going to make a flat piece this time instead of a round piece. So you'll see how that's done. So basically what I do is I stab it. I'm using the multi-tool, but you don't have to. And it starts to form a bit of a fabric, and it goes through, and you just keep stabbing and turning until you've got something that's vaguely solid. So it looks more like a piece of felt than a piece of fleece. And it is quite quick to do. So once you get a more solid shape like that, can you see? It's holding it. You then fold it to make it thicker. But I'm wanting to keep this tail that suggests the leaf shape. So I'm not going to do anything with that just now. I'm just going to keep stabbing and folding. You might have to just fold in some ends. Switch to your single needle, because that makes it easier to actually form a shape, the pointy end. So you're wanting, what you're going to end up with is one, oh sorry, if you can see me, is one solid edge, of your piece of fleece, and one fluffy end, because you need the fluffy end to help attach it to your next piece. So going back to the berry that we were working with earlier, I'm now going to place these leaves on the base of the berry. And I'm going to go along, like we did with the acorn, along the edges of the piece to embed the softer edges in the softer fleece underneath. And it's done very quickly. Just a few stabs with your needle will get it there. So it's held securely. And then you keep adding your other leaves. So there's 4, so you're roughly adding them. Don't be precise because nature isn't precise. You're adding them at quarters roughly. Along the edge of the piece, we'll bed it into the ball underneath. Oops, they've got stuck together. So we're adding a suggestion of leaf. Everything's about suggestion with this. It's not about precision. And again, you can see, actually maybe should have moved that one along a bit. It wasn't very thermally attached. It seemed to have got a big gap there. So I'll try putting it on there. And then I would go from the top and stab downwards to make sure it's firmly embedded around your stalk. Because again, we're going to do the same with this, and we're going to add some tape. You might be better using green tape on this one, but I've only got brown with me today, so I will use the brown. So we're going all the way around the base. That could do with a bit more attaching. Let's cut that one. They've got a bit close together, but and again, from the top down to the bottom, mind your fingers. I've got my fingers exposed now. Sorry, I keep turning my hands away. I get carried away and it's like you're not there. Please excuse that, but you know what it's like when you get into your felting, into your crafting, and you just forget the world's there. So that's more or less it. That's your berry. Again, you would bind the stem. The ones I'm making when I demonstrate to you, I'm going to put together as a wreath in the next demonstration, and then I'm going to give it to my mum because she likes them. So that's the berry. Again, quite simple. Right, so both of those things we've done today have been a solid shape, solid wool shape. There are a few other techniques with needle felting that you might want to look at, one of which is felting onto another surface. I don't know whether I've got a leaf to show you, but that's not that. You can felt on top of your leaves. Last week we made these oak leaves, and we embroidered veins on some of them, but this one I've kept because I want to show you how to felt onto a felt surface. And I have here some oak leaves that I picked up in the woods when I was on holiday. And you can see that there's a lot of variation in colour. They're not just the yellow, they've got green and they've got brown, as well as the veins. So we're going to felt on top of this to create those swirls of colour. And I'm going to use this brown for the brown, obviously, and this forest green that we used on the berry. I'm going to use some of that, and I'm going to use some of this very, very dark green that we also used on the berry. It's a good way to use up little bits you've got lying around as well. Obviously, I don't want the purple. I want quite a bit of this green just lying around from where I pulled it when I was making the leaves. So again, you don't need very much, and you just place it on the surface and just work it in, and it will work itself into the felt, particularly if you've got proper felt. I think I said this last time I worked with it. This really is not proper felt. I bought it by mistake because it was cheap. You know what they say, you get what you pay for. But it's worked out really well for this project because it's quite papery, and I think it's probably acrylic as well. So it's easy to shape and cut, and it's not floppy. So you just keep adding suggestions of the sort of colours that you would get on your autumn oak leaf. Again, I said it involves quite a bit of observation of nature, so you know what an autumn leaf, the colours in an oak leaf are. You get an oak leaf and you have a look. And it is quite nice. And I found some beautiful leaves when I've been looking around. When I'm out walking my dog, I pick leaves up, and my husband despairs of me. In fact, when I found these oak leaves, we were on holiday, and I picked it up off the road, and he went, "No, you're not putting that in the car." But I did, along with my bags of shells that I'd collected that day. So I'm not going to do a lot on it, but I just want to show you how you can, another method of felting. So you can see that, particularly if you used one of the multi-tools, it would very quickly felt through. You can see it starts to come through on the other side. So, it's attaching. And that would create your colour variation on your leaf. The other thing we can do for this is Sycamore Keys, which are the ones that come off the sycamore tree. They're like a papery shape like this with two seeds in these bits. So you want to add a bit of bulk to there to make it look like there's a seed in it. So as you did with your other round bits, we're going to just get a piece of top fleece. I keep calling it all sorts of things. That's probably a bit too much, actually. Or maybe pull that in half. Going to tie a knot in it because that will form the basis of the shape you want and take some of the work out of it. And then I'm going to roll it into a little ball like that. And we're going to put it on the felt and we're going to stab it in to form that sort of 3D element to this sycamore key. Doesn't have to be too smooth again. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. I'm just going to split this so it's not as bulky. Tie my knot in it at one end and then roll it round. Put it on the other side and start stabbing again. And what this will do, will felt right through because you're going through the top layer and you're going through the layer underneath as well. Come at it from different angles and keep turning it. You do want a fairly smooth edge, but you're not too worried about it being ultra smooth. You still want to have the shape of the sycamore key. So you want to just get rid of your edges, but just by going in at a slight angle around the edge, tucking in all them stray hairs. Again, I'm not going to finish this completely because I just want to show you the method. You would just do the other side of the key exactly the same. Right, so now you can see that instead of a flat shape, it's actually got some definition. You've got that bump of the key. I'm trying to get that so you can see it. So it's got that shape to it. And you can add that to your wreath later. So that is more or less the things I was going to demonstrate. I've got a little bit more time, so I'll talk to you about something like the mushroom, which is dead cute. And the things you've learned today, there's just one more technique that I didn't show you, and that is adding spots of colour to it. It's not an easy thing to do, and I will be tempted to say if you're a beginner at needle felting, if you're doing something like this, use beads. I would use beads again next time. But I'm going to give you just a quick demo of this. Then I will maybe put a video on my own page of how to create the mushroom. If you're interested, you can go and have a look at that later. So you start with your basic, this is your basic unbleached top. This isn't merino, this is Corriedale, which is a bit cheaper because if you want to use a lot of it, you don't want to be using expensive fleece. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to form a flat piece and then roll it up to make the little stubby stem of in fact, I might use a brush because that'll make it quicker. So you want to flatten out a piece of your top and then I'll use the multi-tool, just keep stabbing through And the beauty of this brush is that it stabs both sides at the same time, because the bristles of the brush will also work on your fleece to agitate the fibres and make them stick together. What I'm aiming for is like a ribbon of felt. And you can see already it's starting to come together. So this is how you would make a flat piece. There is another technique of felting, which I have tried recently myself and quite enjoy it, and it's wet felting. And that makes a more of a traditional piece of felt you would expect to buy as a piece of felt, like fabric felt. And it's lovely. You can get some really nice effects. As you can see, it's very quickly turning from a piece of very fine, soft fleece into a fabric needle. And what I will do, then you would fold it, yeah, to get some thickness in it, and stab it again through. Again, you're not aiming for like absolutely smooth or solid, because that will come eventually. What we're aiming for at the moment is bulk. We want to turn that bit of very airy fairy fleece into a tight little tube. So there you go. You can see there that it's quite solid now. It's not pulling apart like it did before. Then you just roll it into a long shape. I'll do it on that. Roll it tightly, because this is going to be the stem of your mushroom. Roll it tightly up like that, and then you start your stabbing again, just to form that tube, so it won't unroll. So there, you can see already that is a fairly solid shape, and it's a case of refining it after that. And to make it shorter, you would stab it from the top. I'm just going to put my finger guards on, because this is where you would stab yourself. We're going to stab it down from the top and make it stubbier. It's not going to go all the way down because it's hitting my thimble, but you can see that it becomes shorter and stubbier already. This is working quite quickly together. There we go. And that's the stem of your mushroom. Obviously, you would go round and round it and make it less fluffy, but that is the basic stem of the mushroom. Now, these brushes do collect a bit of fleece in them, and I'm going to show you how to make the top of the mushroom now. So I want that off, because I'm going to use red. I say mushroom. I don't think it's a toadstool, isn't it? Because mushrooms that colour wouldn't be very good for you. So I've got this lovely Christmas red. Nearer Christmas, I might do some demos of how to make felt Christmas decorations and maybe some gnomes. But just for now, pull off a decent strand of your red, and then we're going to coil it so it makes on your brush, so it makes a circle, however big you want your toadstool head to be, and then you stab it. There is another tip actually I'm going to give you. These cookie cutters, these are brilliant to form circles or any shape. I've got stars and hearts there. And basically what you do is you push it down onto your brush and stuff your fleece inside it, and then you stab inside. And that keeps it round. You know, because you'll know from forming, from rolling pastry and everything, it's very difficult to keep something round when you're trying to form it into a shape. So the cookie cutters are great. There, that's what I was aiming for. Just a rough shape, a rough round shape. I'm bleeding now. Good job it's red felt, and then you just work it. Turn it over, work the other side. How are we doing for time? I think we're nearly up. I'll just show you very briefly how I attach it. So to attach it, having a fluffy end is quite good for this, because the fibres will felt better. You put your top on your bottom and you just work through it. You can hold your stem with And what you want to do is, as you work it, once you've got it attached, I'll move on to our other form. Once you've attached your stalk, you can do it this way, but be very careful because the white will come through the other side. You're probably better doing it from the red side. And you will form that shape of it dropping down a little bit, so it will have that little bump in the middle that you sometimes see on toadstools. So you would keep working it around, and already within a few minutes it's looking like a toadstool. As I say, I would use beads, just little tiny white beads to make spots. It's so much easier, just sew them on, and you can use that on your finished wreath. So that's us for today. I'm just going to turn you up. It was a longer session. Lost you then. It was a longer session than I was expecting, but oh, you've fallen out of the tripod now. But at least I got to show you the toadstool as well. We've got I've got lots of bits about autumn reads on my own page, so I'll try and go through all your comments, and I will put a link to my page on it if you want to have a look and see some of the other things I do. I'm not quite sure when the next date is, but I'll find out and I'll post that as well so that you all know. So thank you very much for watching. I'm Kate, and this is me from What Kate Made. I'm going to sign off now and say goodbye, but it's been great. Thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed it.